I, female, 17, was really close to my late mother, and it's caused a bit of friction with my stepmom and her stepsister. My dad, male, 50, got remarried a year after my mom passed away when I was 16. And to be honest, I felt like it was too early to move on. But obviously, since I was just a kid, my opinion didn't really matter. I mean, I want my dad to be happy. But the way his new wife, Martha, female, 40, thought she could just fill the void my mom left was a little too much for me. My parents were both really close with their respective families, and I have a really strong bond with my cousins, uncles, aunts, you name it. Both of their sides are close to each other and basically one unit. When Dad got remarried, the whole family expressed what they felt about it, as did I in private, very publicly. However, my dad also valued being in the family's good book, so he asked me to be my stepmom's MOH at the wedding. I was nowhere near ready for this, but Dad kind of guilt tripped me into it by talking about his shot at happiness and stuff like that. Now, I agreed, and the whole situation fizzled out as the family thought that I was okay with it too. There were still some murmurs, but I think the main reason everyone was concerned was because of me. Since I was the MOH, people thought I was okay with it. To be honest, I regretted agreeing to it afterward because it gave Martha this false sense of closeness to me and also made my stepsister Barbara, female 15, jealous of me. Looking back on it, I kind of understood what she felt like because her own mom was putting in a lot of work to try and bond with me, and that left her feeling a little ignored. But it doesn't justify the year of hell I went through with her. After the wedding, I had to share a room with Barbara, and she used to be a terrible person to me. I couldn't have any of my friends over because she would be intrusive and downright rude. She got into my Nintendo Switch and deleted my Animal Crossing account, which had hours of work put into it, and she never understood that I was grieving the loss of my mom. Because of hundreds of incidents like that, our relationship was incredibly sour, and I got into a ton of fights with her. My dad never lifted a finger to punish or reprimand her, though, and that just made her even more entitled. Martha also took her daughter's side most times and considered herself to be a disciplinarian when it came to me. I was basically just waiting for the day I could move out. But I took that decision a lot faster than I intended to because of what Barbara did. Mom's birthday was coming up, and I was feeling really sad that this would be another year I'd be celebrating without her. I got on a call with one of my cousins, Maria, and we talked about how much Mom had done for us and the family and decided we should do something to honor that. She was doing a degree in journalism and suggesting the idea of a documentary video essay on Mom's life. It would be an amazing way to honor her life and make sure we always remembered her. I began to interview all my family members to talk about the stories I knew and didn't know about my mom's life. My mom was an immigrant, and I even reached out to people in her home country to hear about her life. Every story I got cemented what an amazing person she was and how much we had lost. I also began blogging about this journey of collecting stories about my mom on Tumblr, and it gained a lot of traction. I became somewhat of a micro celebrity and managed to create an online platform for people to talk about their grief and how we all can deal with it healthily. It took me 3 whole months to get the project finished with the help of my older cousin, and we were almost done with the final project. I had everything stored on my desktop and had gotten halfway through editing everything together. But with just a day left until my mom's birthday, I opened my PC to see a blank blue screen. I had no idea what had happened, but my desktop just wasn't turning on. I began to freak out and basically took apart my desktop to see what had happened. And then I saw a giant gash on the motherboard. It looked deliberate, and I knew it had to be Barbara. I was ready to slap her straight across the face when I ran down to the kitchen to confront her, but her mom stopped me. She could tell that I was shaken, though, So she called Dad to the table and we had an emergency meeting. I told him what happened as calmly as I could, and then Barbara piped up, saying, "Oh, I didn't know that. I was just messing around inside your desktop because I wanted to learn about computers." I called total BS on this because she had seen me working on this for months and nobody gashes a damn motherboard when they're learning about computers. Like always, though, my dad and Martha bought it and told me that while it was regrettable, it happened because Barbara is naturally curious and I shouldn't hold a grudge against her. I was so shocked. And I turned to Dad and said, "This is what you support after Mom died? Are you seriously telling me that it was okay for her to do this? She knew, Dad. She definitely did." Dad just looked at me blankly and used the old, "Don't talk to your father that way" line. That was when I knew I had enough. I called an aunt staying close by and asked her to come pick me up. She was willing to do it, no questions asked, and I packed everything, including my PC, and went to stay with her. It's been a week since I left Dad's house, and pretty much the whole family knows what had happened by now. They're all pissed at Dad, as a lot of them had also put their heart and soul into this gift, and to have it all taken away because of a brat who didn't know any discipline was just unfair. Dad called me after he was conspicuously missing from my aunt's recent party, and he apologized for everything that had happened. He told me that he had messed up, and when I felt ready to come back, he would make sure that the house was an equal environment for me. Apparently, things were rough between him and Martha because he had started to blame Barbara after our relatives got on his case, but he said he was willing to stand up for me. This was really nice to hear until I heard him mention, "Hon, could you please tell your aunt that things are good between us now? I never got an invite to her party recently, and I know there's going to be X's, a relative of ours, wedding soon, and he hasn't sent an invite either. I don't want to be excluded like this, OP." That's when I realized where his change of heart came from and hung up on him without saying a word. I haven't told anyone about the call from Dad yet, and I feel like I may be the AH if I do. I feel like he's also going through a tough time right now. I mean, what he said did make me feel like going back to that house is going to be better now, and Barbara's going to be suitably punished. But I also feel very welcome at my aunt's and not something I'm worried about. However, it's not like I can stay at my aunt's place forever, and I need to know where I stand with my dad. She's not very well off, and sometimes I worry that I'm another mouth to feed. What should I do? Update 1. I confided in one person about the call. My cousin from before. She was firmly on the NTA side, and the details made her even more pissed off at my dad. She promised not to tell anybody about it, but she thinks if word got out, a lot of relatives would straight up go NC with Dad. She also told me that I was welcome to move up to where she was staying, Washington, after high school, and if my aunt was okay with it, I could stay with her until then. I would like that, and to be honest, I'm not really looking to go to college right away either, so maybe staying with Maria would help me get my life on track. But I'm still unsure about whether I should tell everyone about what Dad said on call. Oh, this is so nerve-wracking. Update 2. Something crazy happened yesterday when I came back from school to my aunt's place. I saw my dad and my aunt together in the living room. He had apparently sternly told her that he wanted to make things right and wasn't going to leave without a chance to talk to me. Martha and Barbara were conspicuously absent. He basically repeated everything he said on call and left out the part about asking me to make things right. When I pushed him on whether Barbara and Martha were on board with the equal space for me back home, he told me that he would convince them. I retorted by saying, "That's easy to say now, but you've let your stepdaughter walk all over me for a whole year." He immediately made this shocked and hurt face and made himself into the victim. I had enough of this crap from him and I just blew up on him. I told my aunt about the phone call and even brought a skeleton out of the closet by saying I never wanted to be Martha's MOH. Dad was so upset by all of this that he stormed out, but I could care less. Also, said if my aunt isn't comfortable having me here, I'll move in with some friends or get a job. But I sure as hell am not moving back in with my dad. But it turns out that my aunt is always going to have my back, and she had already been contacted by my cousin Maria. Together, they were willing to support me until I was sure of my life. My aunt and I had an emotional moment, and I even agreed to take up a part-time job while I stayed so I could give some amount as rent or to pay for groceries. Update 3. It's been a month since the last update, and things are going well. I'm working and have found a passion for content creation. The most amazing thing happened too. One of my friends came over to take a look at my broken PC and managed to salvage the data from the SSD. I was shocked because I tried that once before, but I guess I was missing out on some technical wizardry. We ended up posting the documentary and it went viral. The work I did there got me a few offers from some content creation sites to be on board to their team, and I think I finally found my calling. I've gone LC with my dad, and my cousin was right. Most of the family has gone NC with him. Despite that, I feel emotionally stable, and I know that wherever my mom is right now, she's proud of me. NTA, and shame on your dad for letting this happen. I also hate the double standards Martha is enforcing on you. She's clearly insensitive to what it meant to you. NTA, and you did the right thing moving out. I also moved out after my mom remarried because my stepdad was emotionally abusive, and it never gets better. I think your dad was just spinning stories about sticking up for you to lure you back home and reduce the drama, because it seems like that's all he cares about. Next story. So, I'm 28, male. My partner, 32, male. Works full-time in construction. Edit, we are both men. Not that it matters, but I'm getting called she a lot. He makes decent money because he's like a supervisor guy, but he's very busy. He leaves the house by 5 a.m. every morning. I work a little doing some freelance document translation from home, but it's probably about 10 to 15 hours a week. I mainly make sure the house is in order and that my partner has everything he needs. Clean clothes, packed lunch, dinner made, house stocked, etc. It's just the two of us. We don't have kids or pets. He does housework too, mainly outdoor things like lawn care or fixing anything that breaks. Anyway, I usually go grocery shopping on Fridays. So this morning, I went to make his lunch and we didn't have that much. We were out of lunch meat, so I improvised. I sent him a lettuce sandwich. It was a thick layer of iceberg lettuce with tomato, onion, cucumber, Swiss cheese, and mayo on a large Kaiser roll bun. And then I sent a Tupperware of these seasoned, crunchy chickpeas that I made in the oven, 2 Lindor chocolate balls, and a can of flavored fizzy water. I thought it seemed like a decent lunch. Anyway, my mom used to make lettuce sandwiches when we didn't have money. Well, he texted me kind of mad. He said, "What the hell is this? It's just lettuce." I said we didn't have any meat, and I was just trying to put something together in the morning before grocery shopping. He said, "This is not a lunch. I'm going to be hungry all day now. It's fine if we didn't have anything, but just tell me and I'll order in a lunch." Now it's too late to order anything because you made me think I had an actual lunch, but it's just lettuce. In general, he's not one of those carnivore men who must eat meat at every meal, but we do usually eat meat. His job can be stressful, so I just apologized and said I'd do that next time. He didn't respond, but now 3 hours later, he just texted, "Yeah, you're sorry, but you don't really know what it's like to have to do hours of physical work on an empty stomach." I didn't respond, but now I'm feeling a little annoyed with him. Like, does he really have an empty stomach? It was a lunch after all. He is pretty big, like 6 foot, 220 pounds. Basically no fat on him. So maybe he does need more. I don't know. In general, I know he works very hard and I get to have a relatively stress-free life. So I feel bad making his day harder than it has to be. But I feel like he's kind of exaggerating. Anyway, it's not going to be a big issue, and I already went to the store and I'm making homemade bacon double cheeseburgers and fresh cut fries for dinner, lol. But I was just wondering if it's really so bad to send a lettuce sandwich for lunch. Edit. So the man is fed and happy, lol. I didn't bring it up or act angry or anything. I just let it go. And he did apologize on his own after dinner. He basically said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to be a jerk about lunch, but yeah, next time just let me know if we're out of meat and I'll order some food." And I just said, "Yeah, sorry about that. My brain probably wasn't fully functioning that early." And that was it. Now we are chilling on the couch together, so all good. Oh, and the people wondering why I didn't have food in the house. This man housed an entire tray of enchiladas for dinner yesterday that I was expecting to have leftovers to send for lunch today. I was going to send that with a salad, not on bread, and some crackers and the chocolates. That's why I was at a bit of a loss this morning. Anyway, thanks for the responses. Lots of NTAs, but YTAs from people who've actually been in my partner's situation. So I'll just be more mindful of that going forward. Thanks all. NTA. He shouldn't be taking this out on you. You prepared him a lovely, hearty vegetarian meal. A couple of slices of ham aren't going to change the impact of that meal overly much. He's being a baby and owes you an apology. You need to apologize, or I won't be making your lunches going forward. But it was a cheese sandwich? I mean, a cheese sandwich with a bunch of bonus stuff, but still. I've had so many cheese sandwich lunches in my life. I think you could have let him know you'd packed him a cheese sandwich if he normally has meat sandwiches, but NTA on packing a perfectly normal lunch of a cheese sandwich. NAH. I agree that the lunch was tiny for someone who works construction. That job is extremely physically demanding, and most people I know who do this kind of work eat big lunches because it makes you very hungry. So yes, you did not give him enough food, but you didn't do it intentionally. His reaction was a bit over the top, but I get it. In the moment when you're very hungry and are looking forward to a nice lunch, it's a shock to discover you have a lot less than you expected. Just ask him how much he needs for lunch and take this to heart. Next story. I, 21, female, found out not too long ago that my sister B, 36, female, is pregnant after a long struggle with infertility, and I'm pumped and can't wait to be an aunt. Last week was the gender reveal party where my B broke down crying after cutting the cake and seeing it was pink inside. Her and her husband are thrilled because they apparently wanted a girl. She said right then that the baby would be named Mary. For reference, B is a born-again Christian. She found Jesus during her third time in rehab. She'll go on and on to anyone who listened about how she had visions of the Virgin Mary by her bedside telling her she would get better, that the pain was temporary, and how she would do great things after recovering. That was 8 years ago. She met her husband not long after that, in church, of course, and fell head over heels in love, saying that God made them for each other. I kind of roll my eyes at the declaration. Mary is just so old and boring. B asked me what was wrong. I was honest and told her I thought the name was a little boring. At the least, she could do something like Miriam and make Mary a nickname. It's 2023. Kids will make fun of her for having an old lady name once she's older. I myself have an old lady name, think Edith or something, and it's a pain. Kids in grade school constantly called me Grandma Edith and the sort, saying I was destined to be an old hag who would live in the woods and have a crooked nose. I'm also worried for the baby. B isn't a reliable person. She's been sober for years and everyone still walks on eggshells around her. She used to run off to go on drug binges all the time, a few times leaving me home alone as a kid so she could meet one of her dealers while our parents were out. She brought it up a few days ago mentioning how she was hurt I didn't like the name and asked if I was being honest in my feelings. I told her I was. Mary is a freaking stupid name. She'll get bullied in school for it, and at the very least, if she goes to some kind of Christian school, it'll confuse the hell out of her because every other girl will be called Mary. She called me cruel and an a-hole and accused me of hating her and not caring that she was finally in a good place in life. As if she hasn't been in a good place in life before and relapsed, leaving our parents in debt, paying for therapy and rehab that don't work, and letting us clean up all her messes over and over again. AITA? YTA, Mary is a perfectly fine name. When I read the title, I was expecting it to be something ridiculous, but you're just being judgmental here. YTA, you are literally dripping with hate from the get-go here. There is the hate, then the false concern, then the comparative, then more hate, then more false concern, then the scorn, then the pathetic attempt at poor me. But yup, you're the hero. Next story. I, 20, female, have always had issues with my family, particularly my three sisters making comments about my body, partially because I'm going into a looks-based field, acting, even though I'm probably not what would be considered conventionally attractive. Ever since I started professional theater training 2 years ago, the comments have really ramped up. They usually have three things they comment on: my hair, my skin, and my weight. They know I'm very proud of having very thick, black, curly hair, so they often make comments about it being not really black and compare it unfavorably to my little sister's by saying hers is darker and less bushy. I also have a condition that makes my circulation very poor, so I'm very pale, don't tan well, and have a lot of red in my skin tone, particularly my face. So it's a running joke that I look like a vampire. The last one, and the one that does the most damage, is the comments on my weight. At my heaviest a year ago, I weighed around 133, but I'm only 5'3", so it looked more weight than it was. My older sister, who's very small and petite, describes me as heavy and talks about how she wishes I could share a few of my pounds with her. I decided earlier this year that I couldn't take it anymore, and after I got accepted to drama school, I committed to fixing the things I don't like about myself. I've started taking care of my hair and learning how to use makeup to work with the red in my skin instead of against it. They didn't notice these changes, but they did notice when I started losing weight. I've been calorie counting and I've lost 6 or 7 pounds since the start of the year. Last night, after I refused the second bowl of pasta at a family dinner because I didn't have the calories for it, my mom commented on the fact that I'd been losing weight and asked why I felt like I needed to, because I don't look bad the way I am. I was honest and briefly described the last time I got called heavy by my sisters. I said that it really got to me and I wanted to make sure I really like myself before I get to drama school, so that I'm not battling as much insecurity while I'm there. Everyone was kind of quiet afterwards, and my older sister left the table not long after and wouldn't talk to me. Later that night, my mom pulled me aside and said that I could do what I wanted with my body, but I shouldn't blame my sisters for the way I felt about myself. She said it had really hurt my sisters, particularly my older sister, that I had made them feel guilty about my choice to lose weight. And even if I'm losing weight because of their comments, I should keep that to myself. My other two sisters have since told me that making my weight loss about them was inappropriate and asked me to apologize for putting that on them. Because even if they did comment on my weight, they've never told me I should lose any, so I have no right to try and make it their responsibility. AITA? NTA, your family apparently objects to the truth. Sorry you have to deal with that and that they managed to undermine your confidence. Your weight is your business, but please be careful. 6 to 7 pounds in less than a month may not be overly safe. Please don't restrict your eating too much, as that can be quite unhealthy. It may be wise to consult a doctor. NTA, they're all trying to gaslight you. You were honest. They don't like getting called out. You did nothing wrong. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.